Monday morning, Rick Hale. Mojo Monday, my friend.
Yes, sir. Mojo Monday, everybody.
It is. This one's going to be an interesting one. We've been diving into the wheel of life and all the little slices of the pie of the wheel of life, and today's about money. And money's always a fun one, and yet I think some people have different emotional reactions around money. But before we dive into it, fun and recreation, that was fun, right? And then we knocked out relationships, which kind of make the world go round. We did spirituality, and we did career, and we did health, and now we're moving into money. How do you think about money?
I mean, I think money's just a resource and a tool for, kind of an ends to a mean. I mean, if you want a perfect life, you can certainly construct lots of amazing experiences that don't cost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, if your perfect life requires funding, which most people's lives do, and you also want to layer security, then not having good money management skills will probably fall, you'll fall short of that perfect life. And the goal of money is, the good, what do they say? The money's only good for the good that it does.
Yeah.
But there's the psychology of having more than you need that goes along with it as well. So that's my general construct of money, is it only matters when you need it. And, the only time I'm ever concerned is if you don't have enough.
Yeah. I mean, at some level, in a psychological way, we almost feel guilty wanting money sometimes, but it's probably because we're not really good with the money we have. If we were really good with the money we had, we may not necessarily have as much guilt, or we did some really amazing things with the money that we were blessed with. It might reduce that emotional value, but we'll let everybody else deal with their own psychological emotion on another call. Let's just talk about money. How's that?
Yeah, it's all
so
good.
It's all good. Why? I'm going to set a stage. Why is this on the wheel of life? Like, we could have just talked career. We could have just talked job. Why is money a separate slice?
I mean, it's just because it's the fuel for experiences and the fuel for acquisitions and the fuel for a lot of people. It's the security thing too. It's not just the things you can do. It's the awareness that you could do them, not because you have to, but that you want to. And, it's that want versus need. And so it's just an important component, and it is closely aligned with vocation in your career. I mean, in investments, I mean, it's all tied to money, and resources. And I don't even know that it's just money. It's resources to be able to, again, feel secure, but also execute on the things that you decide are important in your life. So it's vital.
Absolutely. It's very vital. And, I don't want to get too far down this track, but they don't teach you how to think about money growing up, or most educational systems. This isn't really a subject, right? And some families probably do a good job of teaching their children to think about money, and some don't, right? So everybody kind of comes to this conversation with a little bit different background, right? But I think we all probably could come to this conversation knowing that we could probably find a way to do better, right? And really, that's where I want to take our conversation. I know you've got 10 ways to think about this. Why don't you run through your 10 ways, and then let's talk.
Yeah, right on. So this is straight out of the chapter on wealth building in the book that I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, released in the next 90 days. Called Stop Settling. And the idea is to live a regret-free life. And so wealth building is an important piece of it, so that at the end of the day, not only do you serve your own purposeful mission and what you want, what looks like a big, robust, exciting life, but you also potentially can leave a legacy for others and support nonprofits and things in your community that have value, that when you have excess, it's easy to be generous and give. So that's the construct of why wealth building is such an important topic, and money is the vehicle inside of wealth building. So one is, as a general rule, pay cash or cash equivalent, avoid credit card debt. This sounds obvious, but when you get busy and you just pay the minimums and you roll over, I mean, every time you pay, 14, 15%, you just spent 15% on money that you probably didn't have reinvested, that you just, that's not creating wealth, and you're just diluting the potential for compounding your own capital. The second one on my list is make sure that you have proper protection against uncertainties, like good health care and good insurance, life insurance, so that if something goes left or right unexpectedly, what you do have is protected and preserved. Even property, insurance and liability and an umbrella policy against, you're in an accident and you're sued personally, man. You can literally give back 20 years of invested wealth in a day. And so that's important. Creating a budget, that might be the smartest thing I did. And I didn't do it early on because I had the gift of making money. And, I've always been in sales and love real estate sales. And, I've heard this, if I've heard it once, I've heard it a million times. I just need to sell one more house. I'll have whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that does work until you don't, or you have an off month or few. But when I created a budget and figured out what my waterline was, what does it look like to survive? And then I added on top of that, what does it look like to thrive? And I could define the margin between those two. And then I calibrated my goals around that. But without a budget, you don't really have a target to start with. And so I itemized everything. I created this long drawn out spreadsheet for every bill that walked through the door. And to be honest, when I did, I was blown away by the things that I was investing or paying for that weren't really necessities, that didn't lend itself to the best path to my best life. And then it got real with what the gap needed to be on the proactive income side to be able to still, again, succeed the way I wanted to succeed and have the life I wanted to provide for my family. Invest in things that are appreciating assets was on the list. That's kind of important. I mean, buying consumables is fun, but if you turn around and sell it at a significant loss, especially if the market crashes, I'd love to own a turbo Porsche right now, brand new off the showroom floor for $250,000. And right now you could actually probably drive it for a year and resell it and get your money back. That's supply and demand. But one day when the market shifts, that'll probably be a $150,000 car. And I mean, think about $100,000 at 10% for the rest of your life. That's $10,000. And in itself, each year, that doesn't sound like a lot. But when you do 10 of those or 20 of those types, investments, next thing you know, your passive income could be 100 or 200 a year. And that's real freedom. That's real freedom. It's not contingent. Your success isn't contingent on you swinging a hammer or an axe or going out doing a job each and every day. And that's real wealth, in my opinion. Buying based on needs and wants second. That just means getting clear with your budget and where you're investing your money and also where you put your money. Think repair first, replace second. And it's funny, I just finished this chapter a couple of months ago, and a microwave went out in the house down. I have an investment property in Florida, and it was part of a Thermador expensive combination, but it was an older set, but it was black. And when I researched replacing it, it was going to be about $6,000 just for that oven micro combo. And I found a way to get it fixed for $650. And it sounds stupid because microwaves are what, $100, but not when it's Thermador built in and a specialized product. But it's working like a champ again. And so that's an example, though, where I think we could have thrown the whole thing away and started from scratch, but think repair over replace whenever possible. Pay yourself first when it comes to commission-based income. Run your business like a business. What are some other? I'll just skip to and just make sure you have, I think one of the biggest things and when it comes to wealth building is have an automated savings plan. What strategy do you have right now that every month, whenever you drop a check in the bank from a closing or from your salaried position, however you source your money, what percentage automatically goes to the things that matter most before you have access to it? And, separating your bank accounts. And Bob Kalinske does a great class on run your business like a business. So I won't go deep into the context of having separate bank accounts, but, don't commingle personal money with business money, and make sure that your saving strategy is automated. One day you'll wake up, it's funny how, wealth building is very slow. And then all of a sudden it's sudden. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And one day you look down, you're like, holy cow, I've got fill in the blank. And it's just because of consistency over time. So that was a lot. I didn't mean to go.
Yeah, no, that's great, Rick. I'm going to throw a slide up here on the screen for a second. This is what they call the money matrix out of the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. And I think it's actually a little more complicated than it really is. The question is, Rick, if somebody handed you or handed somebody $10,000 today, the question is, where does their brain go? Do they go, man, I really wanted to go buy that iPad I've always wanted, or man, I could plan for that vacation, or hey, maybe I'm just gonna go buy my new car. Like, and their brain is going to consumption.
Agreed.
Or does their brain go to, how do I invest this $10,000 into a vehicle that'll create cash flow for me in the future? And the difference between consumerism and capitalism is people that think capitalism think, how do I take money and go make money work for me? Where consumerism is, they consume first. And ultimately, they try to invest with what's left over instead of invest with what they get first. And it creates what's called shadow wealth. The best way to explain shadow wealth, Rick, is kind of like, we all know the people that make a whole lot of money and look pretty rich, in the sense they probably have a nice house and a nice car. But if you pulled the curtain back, there's not a lot of wealth there. They're
Right.
spending all their money on consumerism. And so I just think this is such a powerful concept, to really just as simple as, hey, where does your brain go when you get a large sum of money? If your brain goes to, how do I put it into a capital investment, i.e. real estate, stocks, something that can make money for me in the future, I'll have money left over for consumption. Instead of just consuming my money and not having enough left over, I'll never get anywhere, right? What do you make of that?
Well, it goes back to having a plan, Brett. If you've got a
Yeah.
plan that you institute into your lifestyle and the way you treat money, you'll invest first and spend second. And then when you see the smaller number, not the, it's that gross versus net income. Everyone gets excited by gross, but gross is, I laugh because it's just gross, because it's not real. You haven't
Yeah.
backed out taxes, overhead, insurance, whatever went into creating the environment that earned that money. You just see a big check and you're like, oh, I've got it. And then you have to play catch up when it comes time to pay Uncle Sam, or you have bills coming. So my best advice is always pay cash. If you can't pay cash for something, don't buy it. It's kind of the financial peace strategy that Dave Ramsey would, suggest, where they cut it. You can go to, I think it's financialpeace.com, or what, Google Dave Ramsey, you'll find him. And he's got online courses that are great. You cut up your credit cards, you put the money you're going to spend for the month in an envelope, and when it's out, you quit spending. And if we lived our lives that way, you would probably have a different outcome. But to your point, the consumptive versus investment minded energy that goes with, so my thinking goes, how can I invest this? So if it's 100,000 or 50 or $1,000, how can I invest it so that the spinoff pays for the thing I want, not the capital? So the capital is secure and invested. And then I take that interest in the return, and I can act, with less concern or caution.
Yep.
And
I mean, at the end of the day, consumerism's emotional and capitalism's logical most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I invest, I'm logically going after a plan in life. If I'm consuming, I'm filling an emotional desire inside of my life. And
Exactly.
both have power over us sometimes, right? Like, we allow ourselves to be emotional. We want things. It's like the kid in the candy store. I want, right? But then there's mom saying, hey, no, not now, not now. Or dad saying, no, not now. When we become adults, we still say, I want. I want the Porsche. I want the whatever it is, right? But the question is have we trained ourselves as adults to think logically and stay on our plan, our life plan? Because the emotional gratification of today will actually create the lack of tomorrow if we don't stay on that plan.
Yeah, delayed gratification will reward you in a big way, but especially when it's strategically tied to a strategy. You just have to develop a plan and live into that plan. You can either earn more money or spend less money. Both will lead you to more wealth. But if you don't play in both boxes, you'll probably dilute and defeat the opportunity you have.
Absolutely. So I think just kind of summarizing this is, you have to learn how to think about money. And whether it's reading the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book by Gary Keller and them, or taking a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University class, or reading your book when it comes out, we had to learn how to think about money. And I think it's probably one of the most important things anybody should really engage in is understanding the principles of money.
Absolutely. And if you're the head of a family, there's no more important lesson than how to manage your money, because it's how you manage life. And it's part of that conversation. And, you hear a lot about generational wealth and the transference and trying to, block and tackle for a different experience for a future generation. Strive to be the role model for what it looks like to, purposefully consume and purposefully invest. And so I think it's vital. And Kiyosaki wrote a great book, two great books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Cash Flow Quadrant, that are both they really spoke to me 25 years ago and changed the way I looked at investing and buying into, appreciating assets with tax advantages. And real estate is one of the greatest vehicles on the planet. We're blessed to be in that industry for building wealth and helping others build wealth.
Yeah. And my guess is that one of our next series coming up is going to be diving into some of these books that were transformational books in our lives, right? And I'm guessing some of those will make the list, of course. But Rick Hale, Mojo Monday, my favorite time of the week. Always appreciate you, my friend.
All right. You too. Take care, guys. Have a great Monday.